Welcome, regulars or newcomers. This is Red Ice Radio. I'm your host, Henrik Palmgren. I'm coming to you from the west coast of Sweden. I hope you remember to visit our sites frequently, red-ice.net and also redicecreations.com, and we got much more things to come over there. Also thanks to Pam Killeen for being with us last Thursday, talking about the great bird flu hoax. And today we have an awesome show with Jake Cutsey on Synchromysticism. And let's dive right into that program, so enjoy. Today we have Jake Cutsey with us on the line. He is a very interesting guy who also have tapped into the symbolic language, I guess, that is all around us in the entertainment industry, but also in modern art and also in ancient art, in the news and in basically all aspects of reality. Symbolism and making connections between areas that at first might seem unconnected is like an art, and not everyone gets it, so to speak, much less can do these kinds of connections themselves. And I just love the kind of work that Jake does on his blogs. It is not simple, but it's not so hard either if you do get it, so to speak. And it's not long essays in that sense. It's more interpreting things through a symbolic filter. And a picture is worth 1,000 words. And as Jay Widener said on this show about a week ago, a symbol is worth 1,000 pictures. So it's a matter of interpretation, and it's an art. And I've posted links to a few of Jake's excellent blog entries on Red Ice, so I think many of you out there are familiar with some of the things that we'll mention here today. And Jake actually has 3 different blogs at the moment. The first one is thebravenewworldorder.blogspot.com. He also has mushroom-atlantis.blogspot.com. and also trickytimes.blogspot.com. So he's a real busy guy and has a lot of information to get out. We'll talk more about them in just a few moments here. But let's bring on our guest and hear more from him. So hi Jake, welcome to Red Ice Radio, and thanks for spending some time with us today.
Hi Heinrich, it's a pleasure to be here.
Great, it's awesome to have you here. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that long ago since I guess you started to sending me a few of your blog entries. I guess. I mean, how long have you been into this, so to speak?
Oh well, I only started the blog a few months ago. It's actually been kind of exciting for me because I, for a long time, just had the ideas, and then I got into doing the blog a few months ago.
Yeah.
Really. And then I started getting seemed like people were interested in it. Got me into doing it more and more. And then I started sending a few articles around, and eventually some people picked up on it, and it's grown so fast. And
yeah.
It's been very exciting.
Excellent. And maybe if you'd like to, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background. And I guess what I would like to term, I consider you that you have, woken up in that sense, or opened your eyes to this sort of language or symbolic language. And what was that event, and if you can tell something about that, if that is the case?
Oh yeah, of course. Well, there's a few things that happened in my life that I would say were points where I sort of awakened or had experiences that changed my mind about the reality that I live in forever. And one of the first ones was when I was watching TV as a young kid, and it was a Good Morning show, just like one of these cheesy morning shows, and they actually showed the Illuminati pyramid and eye, like on the back of the dollar bill on TV, and they said, this is on the back of the dollar bill. And being from South Africa, I had never seen the dollar bill before, and I thought that's a very strange symbol to be on the back of the dollar bill. And I think this has happened to other people as well. I remember hearing Freeman saying the same thing on your show a bit earlier.
Yeah.
And it seems like that symbol has some power to even wake people up. It's like a talisman, which is a very strange dichotomy. It seems to be a symbol of evil and conspiracy to some, but also a talisman that can wake people up in a strange way. And this is sort of what happened to me. I saw the symbol, and then I had to do some research, and that has sort of led me onto many things.
Interesting. So I mean, have you more, so to say, background there? How many, if you don't mind me asking, how many years was this ago?
Well, this was about, I'd say, a decade and a half ago that happened to me. I was quite a young kid.
Yeah.
And I'm 24 now,
and
I started going to the library looking for books about the subject and found many books by Robert Anton Wilson.
Yeah.
He would be the person who introduced me to all of this stuff, and it's actually pretty sad because he's ill at the moment.
Yeah.
And apparently he could be dying,
and
this I find very troubling, but I suppose this is how things go. And I started reading his books, and then eventually I started listening to things like Bill Hicks and Tool.
Yeah.
All these things, slowly but surely, helped to wake me up. And then I also got introduced in high school to, like, psychedelics. I started experimenting with these things, and that also had a profound effect on me. And I had very strange and wonderful, but also scary, frightening experiences over the years that sort of pushed me into this direction. It was almost like I had no choice. I was just pulled into it.
Interesting. Yeah, and I gotta ask you regarding the psychedelics, if you don't mind me asking. Have you gotten the sense of? I always try to ask the guests who bring this up, this question, and that is regarding communication from, I guess, an external source in connection to taking these entheogens. Have you had such an experience?
Well, that's a tricky one, because that's one that you're always dealing with. Because yes, I've had these kinds of experiences, but putting that into the category of an other or part of myself or me and the external world, there's no difference between it, and having a communication from another is the same as having a communication from yourself.
Yeah.
Very tricky sort of question, and one that I'm still trying to decide, and I would say that I go in between picking which one I prefer, having communication with an other, or perhaps like a higher facet of yourself.
Yeah.
Aleister Crowley talks about the holy guardian angel, or other people have different, I would say, metaphors, but I believe it's all the same thing. Like aliens, some people consider contact to be many things, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. So, I mean, let's get, or let me do this, because I remember you posted a few of your own drawings on the blogs, and this, I think you're a really talented artist. Do you want to mention something about that? I mean, when did you begin to draw?
Well, I've been drawing my whole life, I'd say. I've always been interested in art and gone to different art classes and had art at school.
Yeah.
It's always been something that I've been interested in, and it's also helped to look at posters of movies and at many things around me in my environment in a symbolic way. I've been drawing for years, and I wouldn't say I'm great at it, but it's another interest of mine.
Yeah.
Art, and I still draw, and sometimes it's been interesting how they've been worked into the blog. Things that I've drawn before that didn't seem particularly relevant have come up again, and I've posted them on the blog, and it sort of helped explain some of the issues that have come up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think they're beautiful. So I mean, do you still draw?
At the moment, it feels like I've thrown all my energy into the blog.
Yeah, I can understand that.
So I have no time really for drawing or anything like that.
Yeah.
Sort of like how my attention works. I get onto a single thing and then I follow it through until I don't feel like it anymore, and then usually there's a new thing and I do that. That's sort of how the blog has been, though I've never had so much success with a single endeavor as I've had with the blog, and just getting feedback from my peers and people who have influenced me.
Yeah.
It's been great.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, so do continue this, because you're great at it. And let's talk about, you mentioned movie posters. And for those people who might not be familiar with this general idea, I mean, do you have any take on why such a piece of I guess, announcement or even art in certain cases can be. I mean, do you think that movie posters can be used for kind of communications on a more I guess initiated level, so to speak, or what do you think that it all means basically?
Well, it's a very good question, and it's a difficult one to answer because it seems they come in different categories, and sometimes you can't tell which ones are which. Some seem to be deliberate occult messages, or at least you get the feeling it's a deliberate occult message in the poster.
Yeah.
Others, it seems like the person was maybe a sensitive person, a person who the spirit worked through him, or I don't know what you'd like to call it, the like strange energy that seems to bind us all through the person, and you're just reading it into the work. But regardless, many posters of movies, scenes in movies, etc., seem to have this strange quality of reflecting these metaphysical ideas and strange, like, higher metaphysical concepts.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
I can't give you a definite, concrete answer for that. It's something that I'm continuing to research and to try and figure out.
Exactly. Yeah. It's the same here, and I can just tie this back to when I spoke to Jay Widener last week, and
yes, I listened to that interview. I finished it yesterday. It was very good.
Yeah. I mean, Jay's
before, but he is very interesting.
He is, and of course this connects with it because he also talked about movies and I guess what he terms the overmind that do these kinds of communications on throughout our human culture, I guess. And I mean, what you brought up, I know you brought up in two different entries, or it might be even more, about the World Trade Center and also about United 93. And of course, these are very interesting in themselves. But do you want to dive into it right here? Or
Sure. Well, I can give you examples from the World Trade Center, the new one by Oliver Stone's poster itself. If you look at it, it has the two pillars, the twin towers, if you will, and they're in silhouette.
Yeah.
And if you look at the negative space, it also forms three whiter elements. So you have the two black pillars of the tower and the three white elements. And if you look at that, you can look at it perhaps as the three pillars in the tree of life, or the tree of the Kabbalah tree.
Yeah.
And also, amazingly, the middle pillar is also the one with the most light on the picture itself.
Yeah.
This is completely echoed in the United 93 poster. If you look at it, you have the Statue of Liberty, which a lot of people believe, we know it's a Freemasonic structure, but people believe it's ISIS, and I believe this is correct. And if you look at the poster of United 93, we see the crown, or the halo, or the sun disk, with its three. They've framed it so that you can see three pillars of the crown of the Statue of Liberty, or ISIS, and it forms a perfect triangle if you connect their lines with each other. And also, its middle pillar is highlighted with light coming from behind, and you can see it better on like a big poster of it. But even on the blog, if you look carefully at the picture, you can see that the sunlight is coming from behind the middle pillar, which is exactly the same as in World Trade Center. Exactly.
And I gotta ask you again then, do you think that the artists who sit with these kinds of things are aware of this, what they're doing, or do you think that it is this overmind, so to speak?
I think in this case, it would seem to me to be a bit of both. Definitely the United 93 poster, because of this perfect triangle that I found in it and people can see on the blog, that seems to me like it would be with purpose. But I certainly, I have no way of knowing that. You'd have to ask the person who designed the poster, and then you'd have to see if you could believe the person who designed the poster. If it is a conspiracy, then it's hard to tell. These kinds of things. But definitely, I believe that all is all is one. There's no doubt in my mind about that one. I mean,
Yeah.
it sounds like hippie or but I think people who visit your site and who are into the information and who have even made it this far into this conversation will at least have that nagging suspicion or have their own interpretation of how they, filter that.
Yeah.
That we're all one consciousness, and that everything reflects everything else, and everything is like a fractal representation of
Yes.
everything else. And if you just take a square image, like a movie poster, you can see everything in there if you meditate on it long enough. But it's sort of how significant these elements are superficially, more than just like reading into it for hours and hours.
Yeah.
Like anything.
Exactly. I certainly agree. I mean, because these, after all, also are, multi-million-dollar movies we're talking about here. And I mean, to be in a position to, I guess, having many millions of people watching these movies is also, in some sense, a power trip, I guess, and who.
That's right.
Who wouldn't want to be in that, if we're talking about the mentality, I guess, that are into, what word should I use, forming basic human society, I guess, would want to use the movie industry as a method to, I guess, sway the human consciousness towards certain areas. And I know that, as you said, I guess a movie poster too is a representation of the entire movie. So I guess,
right, yes.
Just as you say, fractally, this is an expression. But let me ask you again about World Trade Center and the event itself. I mean, do you is this something that you have researched or yourself?
Well, I mean, personally, I feel it was a ritual. It was a gigantic ritual performed in the theater of the real world. It seems to bear the hallmarks of the secret societies that are, currently powerful in the world. The two towers. I mean, many people have said this, but it seems to be that it represents Jachin and Boaz, the pillars of masonry, and the Pentagon. I feel because of it having a pentagram inside, it's the blazing star. It's Sirius, and it's amazing. And I think your previous guest mentioned this, how these are elements that you'll find in every Masonic lodge.
Yeah.
These are the same elements that were supposedly attacked on these days, on those days. And it just seems too much of a coincidence for something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, again, this all ties back to, I guess, also ancient religion, because I mean, these we can go into either astrotheology or
That's right.
I mean goddess worship, because we have Isis, or we have Columbia.
That's right.
I mean, is this something, according to what you have found out, a connection or a hint that this is something ancient going on here still in
Oh yeah, it does seem to be part of a plan that has been taking shape for aeons, perhaps, or a very long time at least.
Yeah.
And it does seem to be, the coil seems to be tightening, and we seem to be seeing more and more bizarre events in the world taking place, and you could speculate that wars themselves are part of this giant ritual.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're being pushed from both sides for who knows what reason, but again, in the World Trade Center disaster, you can see the footprint of ISIS in even the collapse of the Twin Towers. They were symbols of finance, and people like Michael Tessarian say that the dollar symbol is a glyph that represents the word ISIS, and you have pillars, which are two pillars too, and like the middle pillars inside the dollar sign, and this again is a symbol of ISIS. And Madame Blavatsky has a book called ISIS Unveiled.
Yeah.
It's like the dropping of the towers were an unveiling of light, symbolically, and I'm not sure how to specifically interpret that. I have different opinions, and on different times of the day I feel differently about it, but it seems to me to be an unveiling of some kind, like they perhaps see it as a new beginning, like maybe the New World Order. Like we know that George H.W. Bush said those words for the first time on 9/11 in 1990 in front of Congress. Yeah. And this seems, also a bizarre coincidence. Another thing to look into.
Certainly, and the interesting thing that I come up against again and again is the fact that this always has, I guess, two sides on it, and I don't know if we should call it a false dichotomy, because in some sense a event like 9/11 is tragic on so many levels, and one is of course through the fact that more draconian legislator is able to go through and this kind of thing to bring about this new world order. But at the same time, I think many people have woken up to the fact of all these things because of it. So I mean, we have these two sides here. Is this good or is this bad? Can we say that?
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. It's like it's had a positive effect in one way, but it's also had a horrible effect at the same time. And it's sort of like we should use our minds differently to understand how these things work. If we go just good or just bad, then we're putting it into little boxes, and we're not looking at it with a more open mind. Things aren't just good or bad; they can be many shades of good and bad. Yeah. And it's almost like the opposites are just opposites because we've given these terms good and bad to the words.
Yeah. So I mean, that could be it then. The thing here is not to think of these things in those terms, because this is about, as my friend Christopher Morse, I guess, would have said, this is about transcending these basic ideas of right and wrong in that sense.
Right. Yes, but I mean, one has to say at the same time that if possible Freemasonic or who knows who are involved in a conspiracy where thousands of people are dying in a ritualistic manner, that is a disturbing thing to me. And I remember somebody saying, I forget right now who it was, but somebody was explaining about occultists and how it seems they have overdeveloped third eye chakras, underdeveloped heart chakras. Like maybe they see a way to bring about a new world, like a phoenix rising from the ashes, or like order out of chaos, perhaps. And but they don't use their hearts to balance that out, and not to use violent means or means that require the sacrifice of people. So that's perhaps an explanation for the darker side present in these events. Like maybe there is a balance issue at work in these higher orders. Yeah. Maybe they're not opening themselves up.
I hear what you're saying, and I totally agree, because it seems like balance. I mean, we could be talking about a bunch of very, very, I guess, hyper, in that sense, intelligent people working behind the scenes, I should say.
Oh, there's no doubt. Yeah.
And being able to, I guess, orchestrate these kinds of events in a ritualistic manner. I mean, do you think that even dates and these kinds of things, timing, plays into this?
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, astrological timing is very important. Historical dates keep coming up again in world events. It's not my area, but when I read people like Michael Tessarian, it becomes very clear that things are done on specific key dates, times, and even places. Things will be done, in historical areas of significance, replayed sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. And I know one thing quite funny, actually. I don't know if you've seen the movie, but you brought it up, Snakes on a Plane.
I haven't seen the movie. Like everybody else, I I enjoyed the title and the poster, but I never went and saw the movie.
Me neither. But do you? Would you like to talk about that for?
Right.
I mean, there's a bunch of symbolic messages, I guess, in that poster, right?
Right. I mean, firstly, you could think of just the sentence "snakes on a plane." Is it snakes on a plane, a flying plane, or snakes on an astral plane? Like, maybe you could think about David Icke when you think about these snakes,
Yeah.
or maybe it's like, obviously there's a big caduceus on the poster. It's two serpents coiling around a plane with the wings outstretched, just like Hermes' staff, the caduceus.
Yeah.
That seems a very strange sacred symbol to be on a big Hollywood blockbuster with Samuel L. Jackson. Like, very, very odd, and I think a very good example of these symbols that one sees in movie posters.
Yeah, yeah.
A very blatant one. You don't need to interpret it in any strange way. It's a caduceus. There's no question about it.
Exactly. And you have, of course, also brought up in your recent blog entries over at thebravenewworldorder.blogspot.com regarding certain actors and
right.
the fact that a few actors might actually be used. Would you like to elaborate more on this?
Yes, I feel like certain actors are like strange attractors. Like in chaos theory, there's the idea that in a dynamic system you'll have a stable like little world. Like on Jupiter, you have the red spot that's been there for as long as we've been looking at it, even though it's this gigantic, enormous swirling mass that changes every day. You have this stable red spot on it.
Yeah.
And there are these actors who are always doing the same thing in their movies, even if they don't recognize it, and I doubt they would if they didn't look at it through a certain light. But you look at an actor like Ian Holm. Ian Holm he's a Freemason in From Hell with Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
And then he's also a ring bearer in The Lord of the Rings. He's Bilbo. And you guys emailed me a few things about movies which made me think about Alien, and I realized that he's a robot in Alien.
Exactly, yeah.
He's a protector of the aliens. He's trying to save them for Weyland-Yutani, and he tries to throttle Sigourney Weaver with a porno mag. It's a very bizarre scene.
That's right, yeah, that's correct.
And then in Fifth Element, he has the same task. He has to protect the aliens again, and also there's an Egypt connection in Fifth Element. So, yes, certain actors tend to have this strange way of being in movies that reflect all these sort of conspiratorial, metaphysical, esoteric kind of scenarios that keep coming up in my work.
Interesting, yeah, because I recently interviewed Matthew DeLuce, and he was talking about the case that this is on more subtle levels about worship, because at the moment we are in a celebrity cult, basically.
That's right.
And at this moment, I mean, it is the actors and the singers and the pop stars and that are, I guess, the modern gods, or comparatively with these gods. Is this something that you would agree with?
Yes, I've brought this issue up recently in my blog, where I was talking about how Madonna and Brad Pitt and these people, these really famous mega stars, say how they're almost treated like royalty, and even perhaps perform the same function as royalty in our society, where we venerate them to such an extent and perhaps experience the divine through them.
Yeah.
When they have children, everybody celebrates. I had anthropology for half a year at university, so I'm certainly not a scholar, but these kinds of things would come up in the study of anthropology. People venerating royalty because they experience vicariously the divine through them, and it seems like actors now perform this function, stars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think that because could this give a hint of how things worked in the past, if we consider the fact that we know that these actors today, that we know that they don't have any power over how society is controlled in that sense, more that they can do, little things of their own, so to speak, that might sway people in either that or the other direction, I guess, politically or something else. But we know that they don't have the power in that sense. But could this be an indication that even things in the past, that these royal dynasties basically were sitting on a throne, but on the when the real question about who's got the authority, it's the same thing, that these families basically are there for the people, but they are not the real controllers of the society. Do you get where I'm going at here?
Yes, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, and it's an interesting thing how celebrity and perhaps higher government officials, even like George Bush, and if we think about Arnold Schwarzenegger, celebrity, now a governor of California, just like Ronald Reagan, and their names are even anagrams. It's crazy.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I just wanted to mention, because I wanted your take on it. You mentioned his stuff in a few of your blogs too. I don't know if his name is correct, but Goro Adachi.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to pronounce it either. Say Goro Adachi.
Adachi.
I'm not sure. I've never heard anybody say it. I just read it.
Me neither.
Yes, his work is very important and very influential over at Etemenanki, and he also uses movies and pop culture to understand the world around him, and he does it in a very interesting way, and he has a very complex kind of way of looking at it, and his will involve great circles around the earth and lines and times and many things that are a bit beyond me at the moment, to astrological alignments and significance in these areas. Yes, fascinating work, and definitely I'm very much indebted to him, yes.
Yeah, because I think in some sense, I mean, why I brought it up is because I think that you continue that tradition, his tradition, I guess, so to speak.
Yes.
Because there is, as we try to explain here, there is a more, there are more subtle levels to everything, and it is a kind of a fractal, and this idea is very hard to explain in that sense with words. That is why we use pictures and symbols, and I know that Goro he uses the words within quotes, I guess, communication and things like signals and so forth, as if there is contact events, exactly, as if there is an overmind trying to communicate a message to us, even for those who are aware to see it. I mean, would you agree on this?
Oh yes, I totally agree on that point. I think that everybody can see it, and it is sort of like, obviously only people who are more open-minded and sensitive will look into these areas. Not many people can look at Puff Daddy and the Loch Ness Monster and think there's a very interesting connection. If you think about the fact that Jimmy Page is playing guitar in one of Puff Daddy's songs, which was featured on the Godzilla movie, then you realize that the Godzilla movie was made by the same people who made the Stargate movie, and then you also realize that on the shores of Loch Ness there's a house called Boleskine House. Aleister Crowley used to live in this house and performed rituals in this house. Then there's a very interesting connection between the Loch Ness Monster, Puff Daddy, and Stargate, and it all gets very interesting, but many people will listen to that statement and they'll think it's just bizarre. It does seem like certain people are more open to it, but I believe using pop culture, you can almost entice people to be more interested because they can understand it.
Exactly, yeah, that's correct. They can, I mean there is a point of reference, and they can relate to it in a brand new fashion, so to speak, and I guess that also gives us the idea that these are things that is occurring I mean, right in front of our eyes at this moment. All of this is connected, and you can't, take something out of the picture, so to speak, because everything is involved, as you say. It is all one, basically. So.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. And you mentioned Stargate. That is an interesting idea.
It keeps coming up. I was never interested in the Stargate idea. I had seen books, browsing through bookstores about the Stargate, and sort of looked at it and thought it was silly. And now eventually I'm writing about it in every other blog post.
Yeah.
It just keeps coming up in these, I call it synchromistic ways in my work. So I've had to look at it. It's the same with Atlantis. I was never really particularly drawn to Atlantis, and just very recently, basically by coming into contact with Michael Tessarian's work through symbols, and then being interested in what he's saying about Atlantis, I got interested in Atlantis, and then moved on to the Stargate as well. And these things are still present in all the other things we've talked about as well.
Yeah.
World Trade Center disaster, etc. The Stargate even crops up there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, do you think that the Stargate is something that connects with a more physical thing, a real, object in that sense, or do you think that
in my opinion, it's possible that you could probably build something that could be a Stargate, and maybe NASA is involved on some level with something like that. It seems to be suggested in some of their patches.
Yeah.
Their mission badges that they're up to something occult which might involve a Stargate. But in my personal opinion, I don't feel you need a machine or some kind of technical device to open a Stargate. It seems to me a Stargate is just another word for cosmic consciousness, for the fully lit up human chakra system. Crown chakra, being the swirling vortex through which you can communicate with people from our beings and entities, may be interpreted by mystics and shaman as snake gods or whatever, but actually being a natural phenomena in a way.
So do you think that, I know myself and my brother here, we've talked about, the series currently going on, I guess it's Sci-Fi, SG1.
Right.
And I mean, this is it's been running for a long time, this series.
That's right, it's amazing.
And it's, I mean, in some sense, do you think that it draws away attention from the things that you just mentioned regarding the more metaphysical aspects of the idea of the Stargate? Because this is a really, physical thing where people go and travel and basically, spread their ideas into the rest of the universe and then return and so forth.
Right. I haven't specifically drawn that connection, but I see what you mean, and I agree that that's definitely a possibility in how we want to believe in a material sort of traveling to other worlds, the same way that people like Carl Sagan want to put up a dish and look for signals coming from other cultures that are just like ours.
Yeah.
Instead of noticing that maybe, there are cultures that are entirely different than us and might be able to communicate without any kind of radio signal. It's almost like we're looking for ourselves in space and not for another. We're looking for something that has two legs, a head, something like Star Trek.
Yeah.
We're looking for radio signals.
Yeah.
And but I also think that the idea of the Stargate Stargate Atlantis being an amazing example. The words Stargate and Atlantis connected in this one show.
Yeah.
It's a good show, but it's really amazing how the how the words keep coming up. It's almost like our unconscious minds project these ideas into the theater of everyday life and movies.
Yeah.
Coming up, so we can at least live them through in our imaginations on TV. If we can't have the actual experience, it's probably detrimental to do it that way. And it's materialism.
Yeah.
It's rationalism and materialism in the end. But yeah, I think it's sort of a purging too to watch these movies.
How do you mean? You want to elaborate on that idea?
Yes, it's sort of like you're being released from the annoyance of not having communion with the divine or being a spiritual person by watching science fiction movies and about seeing movies about contact and aliens, etc.
Yeah.
Like, instead of you doing it yourself, you can watch somebody do it on the screen in a material way.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I totally agree. And I know that you got one picture that is really amazing on your blog. It's regarding, the NASA patch, the STS-115, the Atlantis mission patch. And one of the pictures
looking at it right now.
You are, yeah, great, because there's one picture also that it got the Stargate from the series SG-1 right beside the new patch, and you can see how the path leading up to the Stargate, I mean, they're so similar. And
that's right, yes. It's like the ramp looks exactly like the triangular element in the STS-115 patch, and even like the globe of the Earth could be seen as like the circular doorway.
The water, yeah.
Series. Yeah, the water door.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And even it's repeated again in a movie that's coming up, a movie by the same director of Pi, The Fountain, with Hugh Jackman. And you can see this, if you go to their home page for the movie, The Fountain has, instead of the ramp being the ramp itself is the water in that one. The tree is the circular element with light coming from behind the tree. It's the same idea with light coming from behind the planet on the STS-115 path.
Yeah.
Light coming through the water door of the Stargate, and light coming through the tree, which is another interesting, Kabbalah/alchemy idea.
Exactly.
Light coming through the tree, and a water door, and a person walking on this water path that's like Jesus walking on the water.
Water, exactly.
Up to the Stargate. It's amazing. Again, in another movie that's coming up.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that. I mean, Pi is an excellent movie, I think. And,
oh yeah, totally.
It's going to be fascinating to see
about the fractal and about the giant spiral we're all embedded in.
Yep, exactly. It's right there. And I mean, these are, again, that's according to at least my basic theory, is that is an indication that there are people up there who know what they're doing, so to speak, and very consciously are driving these ideas into the mainstream. And I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, nothing at all in that sense. But we need to be aware of it too, because as I watched this picture of the STS patch and the SG-1 thing right next to each other, I mean, to me, that is an indication that someone at NASA, or I don't know if I know that Hollywood and the American military are closely related and have developed many movies together. I think
right, like Pearl Harbor.
Exactly. I mean, there is a documentary called, what is it, Hollywood and the U.S. military, I guess, or something like that. But it explains the whole thing basically. And I mean, I can't see that NASA, for example, wouldn't either be connected with filmmakers and TV show directors and so forth.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's no denying that if you look at these patches, you see all these occult symbols, and it's not just the STS-115. If you look at the others, you can see Masonic symbols present in them. The compass and the square. The Goro Adachi has shown these things too. It's really amazing.
It is.
So whether there's just the people who are designing the patches are into a cult, or whether it's the entire group, there certainly seems to be other evidence for it too, if we think about how NASA was founded.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah, that was actually my next question. So, I mean, because there are ties.
A second there, so I'm just.
Oh, okay. Are you? Yeah, you can hear me. Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, great. Because there are connections between the Nazis and NASA, basically.
Yes, Project Paperclip.
Yes, exactly. and the idea there too of, we have all these occult things going on in, within the Third Reich, and certainly things like space travel, and I guess even Stargate technology, basically. So I mean, it's all there.
Yes, and even if you look at Jack Parsons, who helped design some of the rockets.
Yeah.
For NASA, he was into the occult. He would say, "Oh, I have another phone going off here. Let me just kill it."
Okay.
He would say the hymn to Pan from Aleister Crowley before every liftoff of his prototype rockets. So NASA definitely has an occult history. I'm not sure how far it goes in the present day, but it's definitely something I'm looking into.
Exactly. I mean, they had Jack Parsons and Hubbard, had performed rituals out at White Sands, the testing range at where they tried out all the new rockets, basically.
That's right.
And there is a long history there too. I mean, the creation of the Scientology, and it all connects with the occult, basically. But it's
right. And L. Ron Hubbard was hanging out with them too. And
yeah.
There's an OTO connection there, obviously, with Jack Parsons.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So that's. I mean, the threads are there for those who want to follow it up. So. Let me see here. You mentioned, the basic overall theme of Atlantis and so forth, and I know that you picked up on the thing regarding Francis Bacon and the new Atlantis idea.
That's right.
Because I mean, America as the new Atlantis, basically.
Yeah.
Is this something that you have picked up on and agree on, basically?
I do. It does seem like America is being groomed to be the new Atlantis. Maybe not America in its current form, but maybe in what it's moving towards. Maybe after the destruction of America, or the speculated destruction of America, it sort of seems that that's what it's heading towards. They're vilifying George Bush. They're creating all sorts of this 9/11 thing seems to be going supernova. You read about it in the mainstream media.
Yeah.
So it sort of seems like they're using the revelation of the material revelation of 9/11, that it was an inside job.
Yeah.
They're using that to perhaps bring down the American government and put in the New World Order. Or in the New Atlantis, and who knows what they specifically what that is, and what our role would be in such a thing, whether we would be subservient slaves or would be enlightened individuals, part of a society.
Yeah.
I think there's much concern there to make sure that it turns out one way and not another, or at least to maybe stop it if it is.
Yeah.
Make it force.
Yeah, because the idea that I wanted to bring up is the destruction of Atlantis, the same idea that is a fractal there too. First we have Atlantis, and then the destruction, and then we have the setup of America basically as the new Atlantis, and then the destruction of that too. So
that's right.
It is a mirror, a holographic image, currently in motion there, but
and you can draw connections between what happened on 9/11 and the destruction of Atlantis too, because the pillars from Masonry are originally from Atlantis and the stories of Hermes, describing on pillars, and pre-Diluvian pillars, all present in the Atlantis mythology. So it's quite possible that the destruction of Atlantis was also symbolic the destruction of 9/11. So that's another connection too.
So there also we have the backside, so to speak, of the 9/11 truth movement, because the thing that they are trying to expose could be the thing that actually takes the country down.
That's right, yes. I don't know if it was intended to be that way, whether that the 9/11 truth movement has...
No, I don't think so either, but yeah.
For this purpose.
Exactly. We got about 4 minutes left, but would you like to continue another half hour with us?
I'd love to.
Yeah, great, perfect. I mean, in the last few minutes together here, why don't we, if there is something you'd like to bring up in this segment, something more to conclude, and then maybe you can tell people, about basically about your blogs, your addresses to them, and maybe also a little bit why you have, divided them up and so forth, and in the different segments that you have done it in.
Okay. Well, another thing that I would like people to remember is that I also do a lot of work on Time magazine covers. I haven't lately been doing that, but it's something that's very interesting, and if you look back at the older Time magazines, if you go onto the internet and go to Time magazine's own website, they have an entire database of their covers, and you can go between the 1940s and the 1950s. These are definitely the most amazing ones, where you look and see these symbols all over them. It's amazing that I don't know why people never noticed. I was inspired by Michael Tessarian, who used Time magazine covers in his lectures. So I have a look at all of them. So I looked at all 4,500 of them and took all the interesting ones, and I've started putting them up on my blog, my Tricky Times blog.
Yeah.
And if people want to see the originals, you can just go to timemagazine.com, find the covers section, and browse through the ones from 1940 to the 1950s. These are definitely the key period where you can see these beautiful paintings. I mean, they're beautiful, but they're full of secret society symbols, roses, bees, pillars, all sorts of interesting things.
Yeah, definitely.
Rails, you name it, and people can see those on my blogs. All-seeing eyes, everything we're talking about, you can see in Time magazine covers.
Yeah.
And even newer ones, but they're more veiled and different, and some of them, I would say, are again more the process of, everything is connected to everything else, so you find these strange coincidences inside everything.
Yeah.
But Time magazine covers are another interesting thing that I like to look at.
Exactly, yeah, and tell people in the last minute or so here about how to, tell them about the addresses to your blog so they can find you. Okay.
Go to thebravenewworldorder.blogspot.com, and there are links right on the side there to my other two blogs as well, Atlantis Mushroom at Blogspot and Tricky Times, I think, at Blogspot. But if you just go to thebravenewworldorder.blogspot.com, you can see my work there. Hopefully get connected to the other ones and hopefully enjoy it.
Great. And you have, what's your plans ahead here? You want to continue in the rate that you do now, or do you have? I mean, do you have any further?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I'm getting I'm enjoying the feedback I get from people.
Yeah.
I've been really in this, like having an interview is a treat, and just being involved in a more dynamic way in this field is very, very rewarding and very interesting, and I appreciate it when people give me their opinions and comments. That's sort of what makes it worth it, is to be part of a community who are also interested in these areas if they're of the same bent. Because, I mean, a lot of people wouldn't be, and I respect that. And, but if they are, I'd like to hear from them.
Great. So let's finish off this segment and take a short break. So thank you very much, Jake, and we'll take a short break, okay?
It's a pleasure. Thanks, Heinrich.
Jake and I will continue our discussion in the subscriber section, and we'll have lots more info on how we can sign up and so forth on redicecreations.com in the weeks ahead. And next Thursday we got Martin Dutré with us for an interview on ancient Celtic New Zealand, and that's going to be very exciting, so stay tuned for that. Also this Sunday we have the much requested Alan Watt with us for an awesome program. So the only choice is to stay tuned to Red Ice Radio. A big thanks to all you guys out there for listening. Also a big thanks to Fredrik Palmgren behind the controls for making this show and the new expansion a possibility. And we will talk more on Sunday. Until then, take care and take it easy.
Where do we come from? And where are we going?
Welcome. This is Red Eyes Radio.